1943 short. There's a lot of people in Arizona that don't know the radio for real. Hello, 302. Yeah, when you get like that over here, there's only three of them. Yeah, like that over this world is all that I live.
What's going on, everybody? What is going on? All right. Hey, we got some skip coming in. You know, our last video, if you guys could suffer through that one. I told you about, talked about CB radios a lot and different aspects of it, but this morning, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try and give an example of skip coming in here. What to expect with the CB radio. You can hear a little bit here, but lots of it coming in this morning. It's pretty crazy. All over the place. 11 meters has been pretty wild. So I'll shut this down here, but this is my Uniden Grant LT. It's pretty cool. It's an older radio. I don't know when they stopped making this one, but it's got sideband on it. All the buttons are backlit on it. It's pretty fancy for a CB radio. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down here. But yeah, there's a lot of skip coming in, and skip is just really it's kind of fun sometimes, especially on like really long distance DX. You can hear stations coming in from all over the place. But let me get my other view up here. Let's see here. There we go. But yeah, you can see I got this thing just sitting here. I've got my Washington base station below it. These things are in the closet. I've got another CB. It's Cobra 29BT. Actually has Bluetooth capability, so you can actually pair your phone with it. So it's kind of cool. But anyhow, today we're going to talk about what to expect when you buy a CB. And last video, I was talking about CB is going to be acceptable for a lot of reasons, but it's going to be unacceptable for a lot of other reasons. The reason you want to buy a CB for emergency communications is because there's tons of them out there. And you're going to want to know what's going on around you. And unless you have a CB, you're not going to know what's being said on the CB radio. And if you go all in on, say, ham radio, you're going to know a lot of what's going on out there. You're going to be able to communicate really well. Like I said in the last video, ultimate station was going to be ham radio. Having a full-on station here, right? So ham radio is going to be the ultimate, but if you go on in that, most people aren't going to have a ham license. They're only going to be talking to other hams or listening to other hams. There's going to be a lot of people out there using and resorting to CB radio, and if you don't have one, you're not going to know what's being said or what's around you. Same with GMRS. GMRS takes a license, and I don't know if you guys looked up that what it takes to do a GMRS license, but the FCC website is ridiculous. So most people are going to look at that and be like, oh man, what a pain in the ass. I'm not doing that. Some people will just use it without a license in the SHTF scenario. They're not even going to get licensed, right? They're just going to use it. I've heard that a lot, and that's probably true. But honestly, I've been a ham for a long time, and if I step away from my radios, I forget how to use them. I had a little SDR here, you know, a USB, one of those RTL SDRs, and I plugged it in here, and I haven't used it for a while. I forgot how to use the thing. So unless you practice and train with your, just like anything, with your gear, you're not going to be very good at it, and you're not going to know how to use it. You're not going to be proficient with it. So there's that too. But people are not going to have, they're going to look into GMRS and say that's a pain. Same with ham radio, unless you're fully committed to get a radio station set up of all frequencies, right? That's going to be your best bet. I'm going to talk about, I remember, if you watched my last video, I'm going to talk about you don't need a ham license to succeed at what I'm trying to present here. Well, what I'm alluding to is scanners and shortwave receivers. But you're still going to need equipment. You're not going to have the ability to transmit on those ones. So there's no one scenario that's going to fit everybody in every situation. So I'm telling you, I think just like me, I'm trying to get ready for everything. I don't have it all even now. So I do not have GMRS because I use ham radio. I can listen to GMRS, so that's why I haven't really worried about it. I've got scanners, I've got shortwave receivers, so I can listen and know what's going on and being said in GMRS. Same thing with CB radio. I have CB radios. I need to work on antennas and stuff like that too. But today, like I said, what to expect with the CB radio. Well, let me get a radio back here, for example. This is one of your run-of-the-mill Baofengs. I don't remember which one this was. This is a UV5R, the infamous UV5R. That's what you get. This is a similar size to a GMRS radio, and it's in the 460 megahertz range. So that's what you get for size, and usually they got these short little antennas on them. I got one of this extended VHF dual band antenna on here, but this is pretty convenient. This is very small, compact. GMRS is the same way. In fact, it's probably about as compact as you can get for what kind of results you get in signals and performance out of it. Excuse me. I'm just going to pull this over here real quick. It's just sitting here. CB radio is huge. This thing is huge. I mean, this is huge. That's what you get with the CB radio. They have lots of small ones. They have much smaller ones than this beast. The Washington base station is 5 times that big. So CB radio is I love CB radio, man. It's fun. It feels vintage to me. It feels good, but they're huge. They're just massive, older technology. They've got things down into compact stuff now. You can get handheld CBs, but they don't work that great. The distance is so limited, and that brings me to performance. So these are huge, and they have their wavelength is 11 meters. That's how ham radio operators measure wavelengths, is they talk about it and say you got 2 meters, you got 70 centimeters. Well, the GMRS is closer to 70 centimeters, so it's a very small wavelength. Well, CB radio is in the 27 megahertz band. It's a very long wavelength, and to get an efficient antenna, it needs to be, for CB, it's a very large antenna. Like the base station antenna for the CB would be, the one I had was an Antron. I think they call them solar columns now, but it was 24 feet tall or something, vertical antenna. It worked excellent. It was great, but that's what you need for it to be efficient and work well on 11 meters. So in a car, in a vehicle, if you were to put a CB in a vehicle, to do a 5/8 wave magnet mount is huge. I forget, was it 48 inches tall, stainless steel whip. They have the 96-inch steel whips, which I actually used those things. It was pretty crazy when I was back in the CB days. Excuse me. I actually got insane with those things. I had dual 96 stainless steel whips on the front of my 72 Chevelle. It just was a ridiculous thing. I was obsessed with CB radio and getting the biggest, baddest signal I could out there during CB tag. And we all laugh about it to this day when we talk about that stuff. But that's what you need. You don't need that, but you need a large antenna to get out there and have a quality signal on CB radio. It's very big. Mounting one of these things in your truck or car nowadays is, most people aren't going to mount this in some SUV or CRV or something, or even a pickup. It's hard to find. I've got a F-250, and it's hard to find a place in that big old thing to mount this. I've got a 2-meter Yaesu in my truck, and it was hard to find room for that, and it's just a small little thing. So the difference in that and the GMRS, well, they have little antennas, say a mobile radio for GMRS, and it's I mean, the whole radio is the size of your hand. I mean, it's just not very big. And then the mobile antenna, external antenna, you can get an external antenna with GMRS. It's only like that big, and you can get a bigger one. A full wavelength would be still a very small antenna. So it's very compact. So like I said, CB is not your most excellent setup, but I think you're going to need it in an emergency situation. So yeah, the antennas are huge, the radios are huge, and you have to install them into your car. Same with a mobile GMRS. You actually have to install them in your car, run it through, say mount it on your dash, run the wire through the firewall in some sort of a pass-through grommet with all your other accessories or wires and cables they have in the cars. The way I do it is run it to the battery, so you don't get any alternator current in there, any hum or whatever, but run it directly to the battery, and it takes a little bit of time to do that. It's not terrible, but it takes a little planning. And then you have to run your antenna from the back of the radio. So you have this thing in the dash. You have to run the antenna out the back of the radio, run it down the side under the edge of the carpet or door panel or something, or the floor panel there, out the back, or some way get it up onto the roof somehow. So sometimes that's not that easy, especially in these new cars. And then you have to decide what kind of a great big huge antenna you want to put. So if you guys see ham radio operators out there with all kinds of different antennas on their car, you know, they just don't care. They're like, I want a signal. I don't care how this looks. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do this. Well, when you have a CB, if you get it, you can do it. And I've done it before. I've used a mag mount, but there's pretty good setups to where you can get that whole setup and it doesn't look that bad. You got this great big whip sticking up on the car, but at that point, you can't run it through the car wash. You can't run it through the car wash. You can't go through drive-thrus or hitting things. It's not something that it's really conducive to, you know, efficiency and the world we live in today. But for communication in a SHTF, whatever you got to do, get the thing installed, get it up there, and be able to listen. So that's why I have my radios, my CB radios. I've got my base station sitting here, but I've got the other radios on standby. Essentially, they're on standby. They're there when I need them, and that's what I recommend to you guys. And unless you want to have fun, CB is fun. If you guys want to do CB tag in cars, you can practice with your radios. You can set up a base station. Maybe there are people in your area that do use CB radio still, but you're not going to mount a Antron or a SolarCon base station in an apartment complex or even a house that you rent or something. So it's not really feasible for that kind of stuff. So it's very limited who is going to use a CB right now, unless down the road, like I said, when you need it, have that stuff and be able to put it in your car. It doesn't take a long time if you kind of if you know what you're doing and get familiarized with it. Try it out, have fun. Like I said before, doing a CB is going to be fun. You're going to learn a lot, and there's no license. You can find CBs cheap on eBay. The performance isn't going to be as good as some of these other mobile units. GMRS, I can't remember what wattage, but it's quite a bit more than CB. You'll be able to have better performance in a mobile, longer distance, and GMRS, you can use a repeater. But remember, you have to go through the FCC Jungle website. It's insane. I looked at it just the other day, and I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. What are these guys doing? So this is our taxpayers' efficiency, or our taxpayers, or tax money at dollars at work. But yeah, that's my opinion on CB radio. It is a tool that should be in your toolbox, and you can have fun with it. Experiment and learn it, and get familiar with it. And then, like I said, for me, it was a stepping stone into ham radio. So people prep for reasons, lots of reasons. I'll talk more about that kind of stuff down the road, because I was going to include politics and all that stuff. But there's things that are out of your control, like the other video. I had to get a new phone, and I was saying that these things are out of our control, whether they work or not, whether it's going to be reliable or not. In a certain scenario, a lot of scenarios, they're not going to be able to be counted on. So you need to do something to where you do have communication of some level, some way, somehow, in your community. Get some sort of comm set up. So I can go more into CB and stuff like that, but it's fun. I recommend it to have fun on certain levels and have a good time with it. Have it in your toolbox. And but we're going to talk about some other things and other options down the road here that might be a better thing to do. So anyhow, check out my Instagram, please. Northman Project. Thanks for watching, you guys. Please like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and my goal is to grow the channel and make more videos, and I got lots to talk about, more stuff. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.